a lot of. Have you been able to get a bunch of people?
We have them lined up today.
Well, this is a slow day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hey, as this week goes on, it changes. I try to get here to beat the crowds.
Right, coach. Right, right.
What up? What up? What up? It's your man, Mr. Controversy. Did you miss me? We are here live on Radio Row, Super Bowl 58, Las Vegas, and all the way to my right, I got my guy Mace. You good, Mace?
Man, I'm good. I'm
I
actually
know you good.
especially good for this one because this is a guy who's near and dear to our city.
Yes, sir.
Of course.
None other than former NFL coach Arthur Smith. How are you doing today?
Now wait a minute.
Mike Smith, I'm sorry. So,
Oh yeah, I made it
From now,
you know what I'm thinking
from
about.
now on. Is that my middle name now?
Cause we talking Falcons, I'm thinking
From-
Blake. then I'm
from
thinking
now
about, yeah,
on.
I'm
Hey.
sorry. My fault. Mike Smith. We was just talking Falcons, so
I got
I
the
love
intro
it.
next time.
What's that?
I'll do the intro next time.
my fault.
Oh, okay, it's all good. I've been called a lot of things, a lot worse than Arthur Smith.
So, all right, so let me give a shout out. Let me tell you why. So we was talking about Terrence Moore. Terrence, and I shouldn't say this, but Terrence Moore, like that's my mentor. You all know Terrence Moore. He covers the AJC, been with AJC for a long time. And with this past year, Terrence Moore has been very vocal for Arthur Smith. And he just brought up Terrence Moore. So once he said that, I apologize. But that's what came up. Oh, my God. But
Hey, we're all good.
Hey, we live. This Radio Row. This is what
That's right.
happens.
This is what happens.
But how
Absolutely.
you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. I cannot complain. Life is good. I get to fish a lot, and I get to play golf, and occasionally get to talk about some football. And that's good. That's a good life.
So, Coach, I want to start with this. Just the state of coaching today. And we see everybody is so impatient, Coach. I just want you to tell everybody the process, what really goes into being a coach. And it's not an overnight thing, Coach. Let's talk about it.
Well, there is a impatient element to the NFL right now, and it's very obvious because I think over the last 4 years, maybe the whole league, 32 teams, an average of 7 to 8 have probably coaching staffs have turned over, and it's a what have you done for me lately? It's a different feel right now than it's ever been, and we know what we sign up for when you get in this business, but I didn't realize it was gonna spiral as fast as it has. You're seeing guys that are not getting, I think, an ample opportunity to turn a program around, and it doesn't happen overnight. And there's so many pieces to the puzzle that you have to put in place, and each situation's different. Especially when you start talking about salary cap, where what's going on with the salary cap? Do you have a quarterback that you're getting ready that you're going to have to re-sign into a second contract? Those are all things that change the way you build your team, and it's tough. But hey, there's 32 guys that get an opportunity to make those decisions as whether or not they're going to have. You're coaching the next year, and it's a very select club.
So what do you think about now? Because you see a lot of GMs, they'll get hired in the process of while the coaching are I say potential coaches are getting interviewed. So by the time that GM gets that job, that the 3 coaches have been interviewed already like twice, and now it's the final. So now that's the time where they get to talk to the GM, the new GM. Do you think that's backwards?
Well, I think that every team is modeled a little bit differently. I know that some teams are head coach centric, a la Bill Belichick at New England, just to give you an example. And then there are others that are general manager centric. And then there are ones that both the head coach and the general manager are lockstep. It doesn't matter what it says on an organizational start, but are in lockstep together. And I was very fortunate to have an opportunity to work with Thomas Dimitroff during my time at Atlanta, and that was the way we were modeled. We were in lockstep in every decision. One of the things that a lot of people don't know is that I'd never met Thomas Dimitroff and ever talked to him prior to interviewing.
Oh wow.
That was the first time, and it was we had a connection in that interview. And as we went through that process, and there was a follow-up interview later, and then a second interview. We talked about how we would handle different situations, and we agreed that if we ever had a disagreement, then we would go in a different direction.
Right.
Oh,
and
nice. Okay.
see, if we couldn't come to an agreement, then we probably didn't need to be making that decision.
Right.
And and yes, we would scrimmage the decision and talk about it, and take as much information in as we could. And I tell you, it worked very good for us in Atlanta for those first 5 years. I think it worked good for the 7 years. It just, unfortunately, we didn't win enough games in those after having 5 winning seasons to stay there based on what the organization wanted to do. But I think that if the general manager and the head coach are aligned and they're on the same level of the organizational chart, you got a better chance. But that's not the case. All 32, it's 32
Right.
independent organizations, although there are lots of rules to run the business, but in terms of how you structure it and what it looks like, it's different.
Coach, so much is always made about where the staff comes in, the importance of getting your quarterback, because if you miss at the quarterback position 9.5 times out of 10, you're probably not going to be there long, because they're not going to give you an opportunity to develop him or go get that second quarterback. Talk about that part of it.
Well, this is a quarterback-driven league.
No
There's
doubt about it.
There's no.
Look at the paycheck.
Yeah, there you go. I was going to say, look on Monday when those guys say, way back, you used to, the check used to be put in their locker. Now, it's,
Direct deposit.
Direct deposit, and there's a lot of zeros on that check, right? So it is driven by the quarterback position. And you've got a small window. If you draft a quarterback, you've got a small window to put people around him before you're going to have to pay the piper on that second contract.
Right.
If he's what you hope he is, and you hope that's the situation. And it's tough. If you don't have a quarterback in the league now, it is hard.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the cap space aligned when you're doing that second contract, then you're going to have to make some really harsh decisions on the rest of your roster. Roster management is the most important thing in regards to the success in the length of the run that you have.
Right.
And it's hard, and there's so many unknowns. Injuries take take a toll on players.
Ooh,
And you have a guy that you think's going to be around, and next thing you know, shoot, he tore up a knee, and there he goes. So there's so many unknowns. You don't have control like you do in most businesses.
Right. Do you think that in today's game, more so after you were coaching, that it's hard to coach players nowadays because they're making so much money? Deion Sanders always talks about he'll never coach in the NFL because the players have this money and some of them can't be coached.
I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I think that in the NFL, there's a hierarchy within the organization, but there's also a hierarchy within the team. The head coach is really more, and I took this approach. You're a partner with the team,
Right.
and if they know that you're doing things that are going to make the partnership stronger and better, you've got a chance to succeed. And I think that's one of the things that the successful coaches, for the most part, are doing right now. They are they understand that it's not my way or the highway anymore. You've got to have a partnership with a certain segment of your team for sure, and hopefully all 53. And that's a big thing about building a culture, and I think that's one of the things that we did a great job. You know, when we came in, Bob Petrino had left and left the letters on the lockers.
Whoa.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And unfortunately, Mike Vic had his situation. Would have loved to have an opportunity to have him as our quarterback, but that wasn't going to happen. And so you've got, you come in on those in a situation like that, you've got to create a culture and create it real quickly. And I used to tell the players all the time, I said, I don't believe in kings, queens, and dictators. I said, we're going to build this together.
Right.
I don't believe in that stuff. We're going to build this team together, and you're going to have input at the appropriate times, not at the inappropriate times. And those appropriate times were, hey, we had conversations to Tony Gonzalez to come into the office. I would bring him in. Tony, how's it going? Matt, how's it going? Mud Duck, Todd McClure,
Yeah.
guys from the past,
Yeah.
and you use those guys to get information about what's the real feel of the locker room.
Right.
And those are the ways that you change the culture of a building, and you create this sense of that we're all in it together. And that's one of the things that I thought we did a very good job in Atlanta. The coaching staff that we put together were those types of guys. They were very collaborative. They weren't, it wasn't my way or the highway.
Nope.
And it was truly building a team. And I really believe the way today's player, that's the way you got to coach them. Because right now, you're looking, you got to be able to communicate with these guys with this.
No doubt about it.
It used to be, hey, I had a 24-hour rule. If I called you, you needed to call me back within 24 hours. And if you called me, I'd make sure I'd get back with you in 24 hours.
Right.
Well, now
instant.
Instant. We don't talk about phone calls anymore.
Right.
It's, hey, man, I'll hit you up, and hey, you can't say, oh, I didn't have my phone with me. Who doesn't have their phone with them?
It's always in your hand. Oh, I tell my daughter that all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you tell your kids that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know you
don't
saw
tell me you
call.
didn't see my text.
Right.
Yeah, so we communicate differently with our players in the last 5, 6, 7 years. Yeah. How about this, guys? We talk about communication. When we had that big snowstorm before the Green Bay playoff game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Remember? They shut the city down.
Right.
We couldn't have meetings. We couldn't have practice because the guys couldn't get to us. Nowadays, since 2016 on, you could have meetings. You might not get the guys to the facility.
Zoom,
baby.
I got everybody right now.
Zoom, baby.
Excuse.
Yeah, right. You could have, and we had to play a game on that Saturday,
Right.
and they didn't come in till Friday, and we were trying to fax game plan, talking to a guy on the phone, and shoot, they didn't even have trying to hook them all up to the same landline. It just was crazy.
Yeah. Coach,
and that's what's changed in this game.
One of the things I always say about your tenure in Atlanta, and it's always crazy how I always say this, time is everybody's best friend. Because once you kind of got away from it and then you looked at the stability that you and Matt and Thomas brought to the organization, because, didn't have consecutive winning seasons until you guys got there. Mm-hmm. And with the situation that just happened, now everybody like, well, you know what? Mike Smith had us on level ground. Yep. Do you ever think about that from time to time, Coach?
Well, thank you for saying that.
But that's the truth, Coach.
Well, thank you for saying that. Yeah. It might be, but the NFL is not for long.
Not for long, right?
And you don't necessarily know what's going to happen from one move in one place, how it's going to affect another move somewhere else within the organization, or within the league. It's just part of it. And I can say this: I loved my time in Atlanta as the Falcons head coach. it was a wonderful time. It was fun. It was invigorating, and it was a great ride. But it comes, but they all come to an end. How many guys leave the NFL as a player or as a coach on their own
terms.
On their own terms.
Coach,
It doesn't happen.
It doesn't
Doesn't happen. Hey, Bill Cowher did it. I'm trying to think what guys do it.
Bill Walsh did it.
Bill Walsh, yes, Bill Walsh did it. But there's very few.
Right.
You're not going to go out now when you're a player. You're not retiring. You're going to make sure you're going to have that meeting with the head coach, and he's going to say, "I'm sorry, but we've got to go in a different direction." They're just paying him too much, right?
Right.
Hey, they'll come walking in on crutches.
Right.
Yeah. I'm still here, coach. I'm still here. I want to play. Yeah, I know you do, but
Wow.
When you think about the great coaches or just coaches, period, as coach for a while, they're always tied to a quarterback. Of course, your quarterback was Matt Ryan. Can you speak about him and what he meant to you and to the Atlanta Falcon, the organization, franchise?
when you talk about a franchise quarterback, and I know
doubt about it.
sometimes people use that term loosely,
Right.
that's Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
I remember very fondly the first time I had an opportunity to sit down and talk with Matt, and it was in a restaurant in Indianapolis at the Combine, one-on-one. We're eating and having a conversation, and I knew, I knew
Yeah.
that was the guy that if we could get him, he was going to be the quarterback for a long time. And I know a lot of people say that, but we sat down and it was after that, it was like every meeting, let's rank the draft, this, that, and the other, all the meetings. Matt is the ultimate team player. He is one of the best teammates, if not the best teammate that I've ever been around. And he's done great things for the Atlanta Falcon organization, and
Thanks.
it was in the can, when he came in.
Yeah, because you guys came in. I mean, you guys came in at a rough time where the city was. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah,
Know
and
what was going to happen.
it was. And how about a fairy tale start to it? I know you guys remember it.
The very first play.
Very first play.
Mike Jenkins.
Michael Jenkins,
Yeah,
Coach, that was
62 yards.
No, first play, I was like,
We're gonna be
everybody,
okay.
we okay. We okay.
Hey, I tell you what, I can remember that like it was yesterday, and I could the excitement that Matt had when
Running
he
down
came
the
off
field,
Yep.
pumping
Yeah.
his
Oh,
fist all the way
yeah,
down
it's
the
like,
field.
yeah. Yep, I see it right now.
Yeah.
I can see it. Just close your eyes, and the people that were there and that are Falcon fans, they can remember it. And Matt has done so much for the Falcons organization.
No doubt about it.
And you talk about a tough Irishman. Matt Ryan's tough Irishman. I mean, you had to be tough to take.
Didn't
he
miss
took
no
a lot of
games. Didn't miss games.
Yep. And he took some licks.
Yeah.
And he was not going to come out. There were times that we wanted to take him out, and he wouldn't come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Hey, there's been a lot of great players in Atlanta, and you're gonna argue who it is, but Matt Ryan's he's got to be at the top of that list, and at the top tier without a doubt.
Because you got to think about it. This is right after, I think maybe a year after Vic left. But you're talking about Vic, post Vic.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
Atlanta was, no, we won Vic.
Yeah,
We don't.
Yeah.
Dude,
And
I'm going to tell you what's even crazy because, okay, you had the Vic situation. So that next year,
it was Schaub, right?
you had Schaub, Redmond, Joey Harrington. They ran all these
Right,
guys
yep.
out. So it was like when the season was over, you like, at number 3, yeah, it better be a quarterback. It better be a quarterback.
Yeah.
right.
Selfishly, it's like if you can get a quarterback that's going to be a franchise quarterback, you got a better chance of staying more than 2 years.
Right.
I'm just telling you, telling you how I felt.
Right.
Hey,
Right.
do you want to take? Everybody said, "Oh, you're a defensive guy. You're gonna go
Glenn
take this."
Dorsey.
Yeah, we're gonna take this 3 technique. I didn't say we wouldn't, but let me tell you, if we would have passed on Matt Ryan, I would have been pounding the table.
Raphael, I'm telling you, everybody was like, "No, you got to get Glenn." Glenn, are you serious? You cannot want Glenn Dorsey when we just watched Leftwich, Joey Harrington at quarterback inside the dome. Get out of here with that.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys are some Falcons fans. Hey,
I was that.
hey, you're gonna talk. Hey, you're gonna talk about a play I'm not gonna be able to remember. I know. And you'll make me look bad.
All right, Coach.
Yep.
We're going to let you go because I know you got to meet. I don't want to, but we got to let you go.
Yeah, well.
That's crazy.
But it was great talking to you. Great talking about memories. And
Oh, yeah.
like I said, the first time I met you at the Hall of Fame, you were very nice. Dimitrov, he introduced me to him. I got to tell the story real quick. I'm probably telling when Dimitrov sit down, but we was at the Hall of Fame, and I see John Elway. He's always been one of my favorite quarterbacks since I was little. So I'm behind covering the media. So we're behind the stage, and I see him. So this is a little guy talking to him. So I go over there, get close, and I start talking to John Elway. They had me in a conversation. So I was like, I got to ask him for a picture. So I said, John, you mind taking a picture? Yeah. So I'm like, excuse me, sir. I ain't know. Hey, you mind taking this picture? He took the picture from me, and we're just talking football. I'm like, this guy, he knows a lot about football. And I'm just like, but he looks familiar. Maybe he's an actor. And he said, no, then you came over there. And when you came over there and you hugged him, I'm like, Dimitrov. He's like, yeah, I didn't know that was you. And he introduced me to you. He was like, hey, Coach, I want you to meet someone. So I would never forget that. But, yeah. So,
well, hey, there's so many connections in sports and football. And you guys are integrated into Atlanta's football and Atlanta sports. So you guys get an opportunity to see a whole bunch, don't you?
yes.
Too much sometimes.
Too much, yeah. Well, stuff that coaches don't want to know. Hey, because I used to tell the guys, I said, there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong in this city. Just be careful.
Right. Never lied.
Hey, I keep it real. I keep it real.
I hear you, Coach.
That's why I used to, my first couple years, I gave guys golf lessons.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Please get a hobby.
Well, I told him, I said, look, guys, this is a great game. You can play it your entire life.
Yes.
You can play it when you're 60. You can play it when you're 16. You can, and there's a lot of business that goes on a golf course.
Without a doubt.
But I didn't tell him this. It was probably at the top of the list was, look, if they're on the golf course from 2 to 6.
Out of trouble.
They are, you can't get, the only trouble you can get on a golf course is hitting the ball between out of bounds and hitting it, through somebody's window. But guess what? Their insurance got to pay for it.
Yeah, that's safe. That's safe.
You're safe, man. I feel bad.
See why this guy was so smart? He settled the city down.
Yep.
Y'all make me sick.
Mike Smith, man. We appreciate you. Hey, y'all, we'll see y'all later on.
Yep.
We're out.
Hope you guys have a great week.
Thank you.